Hey, what's up guys? It is Saturday morning here at the Oldbarn Homestead, and I just thought I'd give you guys an update on the goings on around here. You can see that we got this up on the trailer, and this is a 20-foot deck on this trailer, and you could see that you really wouldn't want to try this on any smaller trailer than this. But you know, it stranded me at the store. Some of you guys may remember I mentioned that in the last video. Went to go get it at the store with my friend's 1500 Chevrolet, you know, 2014 whatever, gas burner, and so we had everything ready, and I thought, you know, let me just see if this thing will crank here, and that way we can possibly drive it up on there instead of winching it up, because I only have a 3,000-pound winch, which I think it would have worked okay for getting it up on there. It might have complained a little bit, but I think it would have been fine. So I cranked it. I turned it over to crank it, and it was, you know, it didn't crank like it should, but it did crank up. So I just drove it here, and we loaded it up on the trailer here instead of in the parking lot of a restaurant, so that we didn't have to deal with you know, cars and this big long rig trying to take up 60-70 feet to drive it up on, or winch it up on there. So anyway, and when I got it here, I just left it running and left it there and got the trailer in position and backed it up on there. And I thought, well, let me just shut it off and see if it'll crank again, and sure enough, it wouldn't crank. So I pulled the computer out of it, checked the numbers on it, got a computer ordered, and it will be here. It should be here Monday. It's actually just coming from Houston. But this thing sat at the well, let me show you this. I also got right there a DPF delete kit, a delete pipe. So I got that in, and hopefully that, combined with a new program, will save me some gas mileage, maybe 5 miles a gallon or possibly more. So anyway, waiting on the computer. When I get that, I'm going to haul it over to this guy that is in Cleburne. Some of you may know who he is that follow me on Facebook. He's a friend of mine on Facebook. His name's Paul Shasted, and he works on nothing but medium duty diesel trucks, Ford, Chevy, Dodge. He works on them all, and that's all they do. So he actually did the fuel pumps on it for me, the high pressure and low pressure pumps, for about $1,000 less than what Ford was quoting me for it. So anyway, that's the update on that. Anybody ever ordered groceries from Amazon? Anyway, I was going to show you this. I have got going on a couple different things. I had a order for actually, it's funny how things kind of come in batches just randomly. I had a guy in Fort Worth contacted me about a table kit. I was going to talk to you, get some ideas from you on you know, the machining and fabrication of these, and just talk to you about a couple of little issues, kind of minor, but I think it could really speed up the efficiency. So when you get ready to drill and tap 64 holes and drill 16 of these large through holes and a whole bunch of, I don't know how many of those 5/8 holes for bolting it to the tabletop. This is actually turned upside down. This is the one that goes up that way. So anyway, the guy in Fort Worth is kind of funny. He was like, I really want the bolt together, but I want to do all the machining. Would you sell me a bolt together kit at the weld together prices if I do all of the machining on it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And really the only difference is a weld together kit normally comes with a bunch of 1/2-inch stuff like this, plasma cut, and that's a leveling foot, or a pad for a leveling foot. You know, well, you can see some more of it back there. So that's kind of how it looks. You know, it's plasma cut and which doesn't really matter because you're, you know, the draft on the edges and the imperfections and all that, you just clamp it up and weld over it, and nobody ever sees the side of it. And on the bolt together, I use flat bar, 3/4 by 4-inch flat bar, and cut it all to length on the bandsaw. There's a piece of it right there. Cut it all to length on the bandsaw, and then, you know, manually drill the holes. These are 1 5/8 with an annular cutter, punch through. So here's the question. These plates, when they're on the table, you know, the sheet kind of gets a bow in it a little bit. You know, just from its normal kind of state, these sheets are not flat. And then as you're cutting, it'll, you know, some heat gets into it, and you'll get some weird things. And then as the plate's actually cutting, things will kind of move and shift around a little bit. So your hole placement, you know, isn't perfect. And these are 5/16 holes for some button head 5/16 bolts. And so I use a 21/64 drill to open the holes up, and I think it opens them up maybe 20 or 30 thousandths over over stock. I can't remember right now. I had looked it up earlier, and that gives you just a tiny little bit of wiggle room. But let's see if you can see that. I mean, you see that it's barely got a little bit of off on the hole placement here or there, just on, you know, random variables that can happen. The plate moving, you know, your drill walking when you get ready to drill that. Any number of things, you know, across 8 of these plates and 16 of these blocks can happen to give you a little bit of movement here and there. So, you know, when I'm putting them all together, I have to go and fit each one of them up individually, and then, you know, I might have to take a die grinder and just touch the edge of it a little bit. The other problem that it causes is if you kind of try to force things, then you put this thing in a bind when you bolt it all together, and it rocks. You know, this, you can see this one so far, you know, with what it's got on there, it's not rocking or anything. This one here is all bolted up, and I think it rocks just a tiny bit. I mean, the rocking is not a problem because there's a lot of adjustability in it to get that out of it with the leveling feet, which are here, and that goes down in the bottom section of it. So, and the threads on this, even they wiggle, you know, a little bit even in the nut. So, I mean, that's not tightened down, but even if it is tightened down, you know, the threads are not super tight on these threaded rod and nuts. The fitment, it's not an A-bomb 79, you know, fit up on the thread on something that's turned on a lathe. So what I did was, I'll show you in CAD. I'm going to flip over to CAD now and show you what I did. One of the things that is the case is, let me see. You'll notice that I believe that I originally had these made for 1/2 inch. Whoops. For 1/2 inch, and you can see that the holes top to bottom, they don't hit the center of this 3/4 inch, which is, you know, it's not really too much of a problem, but it really forces you into being locked into a specific orientation. You can't generically set up a jig, and, you know, you have to kind of keep a conscious of which one you have going which way, or things like this will happen. Oh yeah. So out of all of them, that's the only mistake, and I'm going to try to see if I can tweak it and make that work. We'll see. If not, I'll just remake that one. So let me show you in CAD what I did, and you're seeing it on the screen now. Is I went in and readjusted these holes and bumped them down to be the center of 3/4 inch, which is basically 3/8 inch off the edge. But, you know, even if you get it 3/8 inch off the edge, and you know, half of 3/4 inch thickness is 3/8, you know, your kerf width and all that, I mean, a lot of variables come into play when you're trying to get something really dialed in to perfection. But you see that the other thing that I did here was I did slots on these instead of, and I also made them bigger. 5/16 is, what is that, 320 thousandths? It's somewhere in that range. I can't remember exactly. And I made these 360 thousandths, and I also slotted them. The slots are a 1/2 inch wide, and if you measure the head of the bolt with a caliper, it's about 550 thousandths. So if everything lines up and you didn't have to tweak it much, the bolt would still cover all of the slot. Occasionally, here and there, you may get it where, you know, a little bit of the slot is actually showing to the side. And I think it looks good without that. You know, it looks good this way where you don't really see anything. It looks like it's well made, well machined. And you have to also keep in mind that these are get shipped out to customers unbolted. So, you know, giving them some allowance and not having to mark every one to every plate and being able to ship it in an unbolted state is something, you know, that would be good as well. So I'm just curious, you know, is it that big of a deal? What do you guys think about that? I know this is taking a long time to explain, but just kind of walking you through some of the stuff that goes on around here that I deal with. And, you know, and by doing it with the slots, I could set this thing up with a stop and not have to, you know, because basically what I was doing is drill a hole, tap it, get it bolted in, and then transfer punch the one next to it. Drill that, tap it, come back, bolt it in, transfer punch the next one. You know, because just to try to do the best you can to you know, allow for these variances in this stuff, because you have such a, you know, on the through hole, you have such a tight fit there. So anyway, that would save a lot of time. You know, I could set up a jig and drill all of the holes and then move my tapping head that Nick at Weld It Fab 1 sent me, wherever it is. It's laying around here somewhere. There it is, Tapmatic. I can't use it in this machine. It goes too fast. And but this machine over here can go down to, I think, 60 RPM or 70 RPM, and that'd be perfect for tapping that. So anyway, I got those two kits. Here's the one that's getting shipped out, and the guy from Fort Worth is coming to pick that one up. This is a weld together kit here, and about 65 pounds of steel in that flat rate box. I mean, the limit is 70. And of course I got it taped and the seams taped up to try to, you know, give it some protection with Gorilla Tape, keep it from busting open. And I left the big 1 1/4 nuts out of it, so I got to open it back up and put those in there. I thought it looked like it was missing something. I kept looking at it, and anyway. So I'm waiting on a few more things to get this guy's stuff from Fort Worth finished up, and he'll be coming Wednesday. I'm waiting on some of those button head bolts to come in. But I was going to show you guys this. I've mentioned this maybe a couple times, and it's been sitting over here. Eco Mouse Design and I kind of been kicking ideas back and forth on this thing. But I broke down my dingy, nasty shear that's just been sitting around. I've used it just real sparingly, and I don't really even keep it out where it's handy to use. But I want to do that. My plan here is that I'm going to get rid of this chop saw. I thought, you know, having this chop saw on the table for a quick little, you know, let me trim this down or whatever, that I would use this, but I never use it. And one of the main reasons why is it shoots chips all the way back over there, makes a big mess. And I made this dust chip collection thing, you know, shoot for it. And it helps a ton, but it still slings chips everywhere. And I don't like it, you know, because usually I keep this cabinet down past that and it just slings them all in there and up underneath it, and I've got to pull them all out and sweep it. Anyway, I'm going to get rid of this. So if somebody wants the original Ramsey Customs DeWalt chop saw, I don't need it anymore. I've got 2 more Evolution saws over there that are brand new. There's nothing wrong with it. It works perfectly. The blade's sharp in it. So if somebody wants one of those at a, you know, pretty substantial discount, especially if you live fairly close by, that you can come get it. This, you know, I don't know if it'd be worth it to ship it, but I think they're about $4.50 new. So maybe sell it for half that if you're local. Again, there's not one thing wrong with it. It works fine. But anyway, I'm going to take this and get rid of it. And I'm going to get my shear set up and build a cart for it that'll attach to the table and make the deck on the cart have some adjustability where I can get the height perfectly matched up to the the edge of this, so I can slide things down and nip off an edge or whatever on sheet metal or flat bar. I think that'll do up to 3/16 flat bar. I'll have to double check that, but it's actually pretty thick what it actually can cut. So I'm using this piece of rusted up angle iron here to make myself a little table that's the same height of the deck, and it'll bolt to these bolts that bolt the lower knife in. And we're going to be using a trailer jack with this is Eco Mouse came up with this. You can see these plates here that get fitted up there. My camera is kind of not cooperating, and then bolted to the bolted to that is a trailer jack that'll push against the lever here, you know, to get the action going. And we're going to use one of those Harbor Freight pipe threaders and use the really low speed and the low torque off of it to rig that up to actuate the trailer jack. And we thought about, you know, we looked at hydraulic cylinders, you know, air over hydraulic, you know, different possibilities of different things, and just really trying to turn this into something that's, you know, kind of like a poor man's gosh, what do you call it, iron worker. You know, I've got the hydraulic hole punch, which is kind of the poor man's version of the that part of an iron worker. And now, you know, so between that and this, you're kind of getting close to some functionality of an iron worker, but you're not spending anywhere near the money. I mean, I think these are about 160 bucks or so. That's a Dayton brand that you get from Granger. So anyway, so got some of the plasma cut stuff done. Eco Mouse did the CAD work on that, and so anyway, I just thought I'd give you guys, that's one of the advantages of this channel that I don't put on the other channel. So for people that are subscribed to this, just kind of giving you a look at some stuff. And this is one that, you know I've showed you like 2 or 3 other things lately that I was going to work on and didn't do it. This is actually going to happen. And then right after this is going to be the Reed Eichner designed TIG prop, and try to kit that. I got to get more kits and things going to diversify out and quit getting stuck in a rut and get some of these things actually finished and made available for people to buy. I think yeah, if I can try to get one of those, you know, every couple of weeks or once a month, you know, not everyone's going to be super popular. Some are going to do well, some aren't. You know, these grinder racks up here, they really worked well for me. I'm glad I've got them. You know, I needed some for myself, and it's kind of one of those deals where just the video hasn't done well on it. So you know, so I've only sold a few, and the video has 6,000 views and isn't getting any more new views. I just need to probably make another video on it, and you know, you got to keep putting the stuff out there, people forget about it. Anyway, guys, this has been a long one. I just thought I'd give you guys a heads up on what's going on. I got to get this shipped. Those are the side brackets for the weld together table, and then that's all the plates, you know, the blocks and everything that go with it, and the hardware. And then I got to get that one finished up as soon as I get the bolts in. And then some metal art pieces right here that, well, you can't see that. There's a State of Tennessee 3-star tri-star thing. So any of you Tennessee guys or Tennessee fans, stay tuned on this one. We're using a factory Dodge color that is an exact Tennessee orange match. Heck, it may be even close to the SYF orange. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys, Saturday, getting stuff done. Hope you guys are having a good one. See you.